We're at the bottom of the booth, kicking South Louisiana classic rock that really rocks. Rock 97.7.
Hey, good morning again, everybody. Welcome back to the show. And Nicholls is at home tomorrow taking on Northwestern State at 11 o'clock kickoff. Coach Rod, you know, I've been knowing you since this time, okay, when you were coaching with Schwab and Sonny Jackson and all those guys at Nicholls State, and it's a celebration this weekend of the 1984 championship team. Talk about what's happening tomorrow.
Well, Denzel Cox, who was a defensive coordinator, lives in Conroe, Arkansas, and he's so excited about coming, him and Deacon Meadows, and they're as excited as the players. Keith Bernard has spearheaded this with David Fury and I. We kind of got it going, and with Shane's help, now that we have somebody that has some passion to promote Nicholls and everything, and he does a heck of a job. So it's my wife and I have been cooking for 3 days for the coaches. We go on the left of Beamer's house after the game with seafood gumbo, crab meat, eggplant, and shrimp. It's
yeah, I think I know where Lester lives.
Yeah, and you're welcome to come. You are welcome.
That is so good, and you know this has, you know, I've said it ad nauseum. Okay, the resurgence of Nicholls State athletics and especially football. Tim Rebo took the ball and ran with it when he got here. He had a vision of what it was going to take to get everybody back involved in Nicholls football and athletics, and it's come to fruition, and here we are now, 10 years later, and Shane's in here doing what he does. JT was so involved with Huddle Up and so many other people, and then now he's AD. The fact that Nicholls athletics has grown this much regionally in the last decade is just amazing.
Yes. Well, when Tim came in, it was simple like Sonny did. He says, 100-mile radius is Thibodeau. We want every guy that, you know, can play ball. We want to put our hands on them and try to get them. And if you look at our roster from then, and you look at our roster, Shane has a stat of the roster, how many?
Yeah, so right now, Nicholls football, you're sitting with 93 players from Louisiana. So, I mean, that's something when you look at that's not done anywhere in the country, not only in Louisiana. And I was looking at that roster from 84, and I only counted 7 guys that weren't from Louisiana. So I said, wow, I mean, it's the same blueprint, you know. And I've heard Coach Rebo talk about that before, you know, putting that radius around Thibodeau and drawing a circle and making sure you get the guys that are in your neighborhood. And, hey, look, if you out-recruit Louisiana, you're going to get some guys. And LSU won't get them all, and UL and ULM won't get them all.
Yep.
And so when you go out there and you bring them in and they feel that family that we have at Nicholls, it's all about the people.
Oh, yeah. And you talk about the players that you can get in football when you're talking about, you know, the River region, the Bayou region, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, you know, all that area. That's the main recruiting base, and they're not letting anything, you know, slip.
That's right. And that's your nucleus, you know, when you can get those local guys to come in and be that nucleus, but you could also go and pull a running back from Pensacola and a tight end from Mississippi, and you just fit those pieces where you need them. It's a mirror image, you know, and those teams, those championship teams, I always say this, it doesn't happen by accident. It's a reason they're championship teams, and it's because of the leadership of those guys on the team. And when you talk to Coach Rod and those guys that were part of that team, that's why I love it, because it's like you're talking to your buddies. You have the same conversations, and they're telling stories from 40 years ago, and those stories get better and better every year, and I love it, you know. And to have those guys coming back in tonight at the Holiday Inn Express Suites, we're going to have a get-together. There's some jambalaya there. There'll have some drinks. Dr. Clune will come in and speak to them. JT will be there. I'll be there. Coach Rebo will make a stop in there tonight just to say hello and welcome back. You know, I talked to one player, told me he hadn't been here in 30 years. So I know his eyes are just going to pop whenever he drives on campus and just to see the construction and everything going on.
Coach, talk about that 1984 team.
Well, some of the guys and like Billy Bob Aback. It was Lynn Bychurch, South Lafourche, Billy Bob. David Fuhrer from Franklin, he was our punter. Dr. Malin Poche, Dr. Mike Robichaud from Central Lafourche. Malin was from Lutcher. And hopefully, I don't know exactly, we got about 60 guys that have committed to coming. Wow. And I'm looking forward to that. And Lionel Vital was from Louisville, which is around New Iberia. Lionel Vital signed with the Redskins, played for about 3 or 4 years. The Redskins saw something in him. They put him as a scout. As the years went, he ended up being a head scout for the Dallas Cowboys. And he just retired. Now, the NFL hired him 2 years ago. And what he does now, he goes from college to college during the beginning of fall camp and talk to the guys about this is what the NFL is looking for. And they said, if you do something wrong while you are junior in high school and something with the police, we got to know about it. So they're that thorough. And but Lionel Lionel would hardly talk when he was a player. Now he's talking in front of her and he's flying. He hated to fly. He would lay down on the floor, and now he's flying 200 days a year. And so I mean, Billy Narcan, he's a physical therapist in Thibodeau. That's so many guys that we have that are coming back, on local guys.
And you talk about success, and Shane was mentioning it a little bit earlier. Look at the coaching staff you guys had, led by Sonny Jackson, but these names, Coach Cox, Schwab, yourself, Joe Claymore was the strength coach, Kenny Gilliard, Ron Brown, Johnny Nagel. I mean, look at these guys, a young Clint Conk in there. I mean, just an incredible coaching staff that you guys have. Kenny Ortolano was the coach on that team.
From the Clements Colonels.
That's
Hall of Famer.
Wow.
That's right.
Just incredible, man. That's a terrific, and it starts from the top. We talked about Revo, it starts with the top, and the coaching staff y'all had then was just tremendous. And if you look at the names of all these guys, for a lot, it was their start, and for many, it was their stepping stone to something bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys all succeeded.
Yeah, when Sonny says, I was working in the oil field. I had left coaching. Sonny got me to come to his office. We sat down and talked for about 2 or 3 hours. I'll never forget this. When I got home, my wife and both of my kids were sitting on the couch, and they said, okay. So they said, okay, Sonny offered me the job, and it was like Christmas at my house. But Sonny says, okay, Rod, you got the Bayou, you got St. Mary Parish, you've got if they can play, we want them. So that's what we always did, and we always had 2 or 3 guys from South Lafourche, always had from Central Lafourche, and we had a bunch of guys from Thibodeau and so on. So we tried to keep the local talent in the house.
Well, that mentality, and really, it leads to everything in Nicholls athletics. You try to get the guys local. I remember years ago in baseball, we had a bunch of guys came in from Kansas, and the late great Joe Touton said, "You know how many states there are between here and Kansas? They could have stopped that." And they had it down here. You want to get the guys that are here, and not only that, but look at the attendance at Nicholls games now. When you have 93 guys from Louisiana, a lot of people come to those ball games because it's family.
That's right.
And that's one thing about a small college like Nicholls. You can make it family, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, you can make it family, and we had a guy from Lutcher Sully left a couple of years ago.
Oh, man.
I mean, you have a crowd of 50 people at least at every game. So
they tailgated hard, long.
Talk about like an Evan Vero and a Chase Forcade, and the goal is too when you keep those guys coming back, and they become regular fans and not just a parent of a player.
Yep.
And so we've seen that over the years. My wife and I, we've been following since she cheered. I mean, she was on the dance team, and I was on the football team. We've always come back and traveled, and most of the time what you see is family members, but we're starting to see more and more people that stay, and they're continuous fans, and they're real Colonel fans, and they bleed red and gray like we do.
I think what you said, what you see a lot of is mom and dad in their late 20s, early 30s with 2 or 3 kids right behind them, and and that's when you start to get a fan base, and you're getting to see a whole lot before the game, them walking in and everything, and then the tailgating.
Yeah, well, Richard Watkins, who was just in that seat a little while ago, loves going to the Nicholls games, and he lived in Arizona for ages. His kids went to Arizona State, LSU Saints, everything. He swears that the atmosphere at Nicholls State and being able to be so close to the field, so close to the program and the coaches and players, there's nothing like it.
Right. And then the tailgating is, it's top. So, when you come there, you have the alumni CAA tailgate. Tomorrow we'll have at 8 o'clock, we'll open up for the guys, shrimp and grits donated by S&W Foods, and they'll be able to come in early and start talking and, conversating with each other. But that whole section, that tailgate village, guys get there early, they stay there late, and every tent's got food for about 150 people. So
about 12 years ago, maybe longer, this group of radio stations used to have Rock 106.3, and they were a broadcast group that also carried the Nicholls games. We had a couple people that would go out and broadcast a couple hours before the game. It was them and Doug Swanner cooking a jambalaya. That was it. That was it. There was nothing else. Now you can't find an empty space in that area.
No, and you can just show up, it's on your own, and walk around, and you'll get a new dish at every tent, and it'll be the best Creole Cajun cuisine you've ever had.
Yep.
So it's something to see. There's always some entertainment out there. So it's just it's something like you don't see anywhere else. I can't wait for Southern in a couple of years because I know that tailgate's probably going to be maybe the baddest tailgate we've ever had in the South region.
I remember those from years ago. Yeah, it was incredible. Okay, one more time. Give me the rundown of everything that's happening with all this weekend.
Well, Shane has the itinerary.
So tonight we have at the Holiday Inn Express in Thibodeau, which is right behind the Rouses, the Nicholls themed Rouses. We have get together of the 84 team starting at 6 o'clock. It goes until 10. There's some jambalaya there for the guys. There's some drinks. Dr. Kloon will be there. JT and I will be there. Coach Rebo will probably stop in. So they're going to be there till about 10 o'clock as a little pregame celebration. And then tomorrow morning, starting at 8 o'clock, those 84 guys can check in, get their game ticket, bring their families in, start tailgating. And then at 9:55, we'll walk over to the book vault facility to hear Rebo's Chalk Talk. And so those guys will get an opportunity to come in the locker room and look around and hear from Coach Rebo and ask some questions. And we'll leave from there and go into the game. And with the second quarter, first television timeout, we'll bring the whole team out and make sure that we get those guys recognized and commemorate them. And after the game, those guys are welcome to come back to the tailgate tent and continue. I know there's a chili that's being cooked there. There's another event going on at one of our friends, Mr. Lester Beamer. There's a gumbo there. One of Coach Rod, Miss Agnes' specialties. I think it's a seafood gumbo, so definitely don't want to miss that one. But just a few things going on for those guys.
Fantastic. And of course, you mentioned Keith Menard earlier. A lot of people know him as a very good coach down here for a lot of years. He was an outstanding quarterback for Nicholls State.
Yes, okay. See, he came from Rayne, Louisiana. His head coach was Louis Cook. And if you know anything the South Louisiana high school football, Louis Cook has been to the Dome and,
Yeah, that's a pedigree there.
And Louis coached at UL, but when Keith came in, learning to read what the defense is doing, he knew a lot of it. And then Joe Clark, who ended up coaching with the Green Bay Packers, coaching the World League, it enhanced him. Of course, he was a freshman. We had Doug Hudson, so there was always a friendly rivalry there, and we became successful.
That's awesome. You mentioned Joe Clark. The late Joe Clark. What a great guy. Fantastic offensive coach.
Yeah.
Great mind.
I spoke to Don Landry yesterday, who told me he was AD at that time, and he said, getting that conference together, it was a combination of two conferences. They put that conference together, and I love looking up and down that conference. It's the same teams. Northwestern that will be playing tomorrow. You can throw out the record books because every time those teams get together, it's going to be a challenge. And most of those rivals is kind of an even deal where you got as many wins as losses as the other guy. But you look up and down that conference, man. They did a heck of a job back then of putting it together.
And after last week, I'm sure Coach Rebo is going to have the guys focused. That was just one of those games last week against Incarnate Word, and Colonels are going to bounce back and play well tomorrow and the rest of the season.
And look, that's one where you lose it, whether you lose it by 1 point or you lose it by 30. It's one loss at the end of the day, and your goals are still in front of you. Your conference championship is still there. your playoff hopes are still there if you win that conference championship. So I think that those guys' goals are all still attainable. You know, we got to go out every week. We still do anyway. Just look at the next one, but there's no room for error now.
Yep, absolutely.
I went to practice Monday morning and Tuesday, and I couldn't tell the heartbeat of the team was like they had won. I mean, Tim has he keeps the positive things in front of them, and so they took a licking, but I couldn't tell it at the practice.
That's awesome. We appreciate you guys coming and joining us and let us know about the special day tomorrow. Coach Don Rodrigue, Coach Rod, Shane Kliebert, who is doing a fantastic job walking on. How long you been? 7 months. 7 months now? Seems like forever. Seems like forever.
Shane played for me at St. James.
I know.
Then he came back and coached with us.
And he was principal at St. James.
Yeah, and he became assistant principal with Mr. Kennedy, and he took over, and the school was running.
Well, and
the opportunity at the door knocked, and he opened the door and got in the opportunity.
His passion for Nicholls shows when you leave what he was doing and doing a great job of to move into the position with Nicholls. That shows you your love for the Colonels.
Absolutely, and that's what JT's built there, just a loyalty and a